overwhelming, but I didn't expect that reception. I thought I'd just, come home, hobble into the house and sit down again. But yeah, it was pretty amazing. I was quite overwhelmed with the turnout in the village.
We heard about your story from Richard Gaisford, one of our correspondents. You're one of his neighbours, and he brought it to our attention, and we aired it. And at the time, you were in a really bad way, and everyone was just keeping their fingers crossed. That moment, Joe, when you came back and you saw everybody, all the neighbours, coming out, how did it make you feel?
It's quite hard to put into words, really, but, I was just really glad to be home and to see everybody, it was overwhelming, but, quite emotional. But it hasn't really sunk in that, what happened, because I don't remember most of being in intensive care. So I don't remember, it doesn't feel like 7 weeks have passed. It just shows, how what the community in a village is like, and, I appreciate everybody, all the help they gave to Clive while I was in hospital was amazing.
I mean,
people were making, and, it's just amazing, really.
It is amazing, and the thing is, the other thing that's amazing, Joe, is that, as you say, for you, you're sort of out of it for most of that time. But Clive, for you, every single day must be agony until you know that she's recovered.
Yeah, I mean, it's big roller coaster, obviously, and not something I recommend to anyone. There were some very, very dark moments. It got, around about halfway through, as you say, Joe was in intensive care for 42 nights, 43 days. On around about day 20, I was told Joe had about a 50% chance of making it through that night, which was obviously horrific. Nobody wants to hear that about anyone they love, and it got very dark at times, but from then things slowly improved. Joe was doing a fantastic job of fighting the virus, and and also it had gone on to not only affect Joe's lungs through pneumonia, but she had liver failure and problems with her heart as well, so it was looking very, very dark, obviously.
Well, you were saved, Joe, by an amazing team in the intensive care unit at the Royal Hampshire County Hospital in Winchester. And I know you don't really know
you carry on.
many of these people because you were not even conscious for most of this. So we're going to introduce you to someone who helped save you. This is Steve Wimbush, Dr. Steve Wimbush. He's the clinical lead for the intensive care unit that saved your life, one of 7 consultants who cared for you, Joe, throughout your time in ICU. Good morning to you, Dr. Wimbush.
Good morning.
It must be so heartening for you and your teams when you see somebody like Joe, who after 42 days of life and death treatment lives and goes home to their family and is full of joy and relief. You obviously are losing a lot of patients. What does it mean to you when you see someone like Joe sitting there now looking happy and back at home?
It's an extraordinary feeling, I have to say. I think Joe and Clive would be the first to admit that Joe was desperately ill, as you've heard. And, to see somebody make such a recovery after such a long period of time it's an extraordinarily morale-boosting thing for the staff. And there have been lots of people caring for Joe over the 6 weeks she was in ICU. There were probably 100 people looking after her at some point. So although you mentioned 7 consultants, there's a huge team of nurses and people redeployed from other areas of the hospital, and it's an extraordinary achievement in terms of teamwork and just so gratifying. And I have to say, watching the video clip of Joe arriving back in the village was very emotional for a lot of the staff.
Can I ask you, have you ever in your career had to deal with anything quite like this coronavirus crisis?
No, I don't think any of us have. It's definitely a first for me, and I can't think of any other circumstances where we face such an enormous challenge over such a short time. But I think it's shown us a few things. I mean, staff have come together incredibly well, and it's I think we've got through it really well, despite some real challenges. It's been hard, but I'm incredibly proud of the way the staff have pulled together and achieved what they've done. But you're right, it's unprecedented.
Joe, I can imagine it's bewildering when you eventually come round and as Dr. Wimbush says, there's a huge team of people, lots of different faces every day looking after you. But as you have the opportunity this morning to have a chat with Dr. Wimbush, we'd like to give you the opportunity to say what you like.
Yeah, well, firstly, I want to say thank you to everybody. And although I don't remember everything that happened, I do remember on several occasions, waking up, somebody holding my hand, reassuring me that I was safe. And, I always felt safe and looked after, and the staff were just amazing. And I know they looked after Clive amazingly well as well, keeping him informed every day. So yeah, everybody, I can't express my thanks enough for everybody.
Dr. Wimbush, one of the hardest things, we know this because one of our colleagues, Kate Garraway, her husband's been very critically ill now for a long period of time. And these sort of stories, I have to say, I think give Kate huge hope when she hears them and sees them, because she's been in this very position that Clive was in, where you can't see your loved one. You have to just muddle through, I guess. Dr. Wimbush, one of the hardest things about this is that there's no of the usual personal contact, either between loved ones and their own family as they are in critical condition, fighting for their lives. They can't go and see them. And you as the staff trying to save them, you can't connect with the families in the way that you would like to. It's all very disconnected, isn't it?
It is very disconnected. And it applies to our connection with the patients as well, because of course, for patients like Joe, we've had to wear full PPE, and so, other than the fact that Joe was desperately ill and may not remember a lot about her time in intensive care, she wouldn't recognise us because we've been dressed in full aprons and masks and gloves and visors, and that makes it very difficult for us to connect with the patients. For families, it's extremely hard because they've not been able to visit. And all our contact with families has been on the telephone. We've managed to do some Skype or FaceTime work, and that makes a big difference because at least then families are able to see us to a certain extent and see some of the patients. But that loss of personal connection has been really tough, and I think is one of the hardest things about this COVID situation.
Joe, you were described as the sickest person in that hospital who survived. You're a walking miracle. How does it feel?
It doesn't feel like a miracle. I guess, now I'm home, it feels like normal life again. So, yeah, I just want to get back to normal and, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, life is good. So, yeah, I'm just really happy.
And Clive, what would you like to say, Clive, to Dr. Wimbush and all his team for bringing back Joe?
Well, several times I reminded them that they had my world in their hands, and they did. And look, I just fantastic job by everybody involved. I mean, the nurses. I was amazed at the amount of staff, machinery, effort, and there was no point during that 43 days that I thought that the hospital and the team weren't doing absolutely everything they could.
And Clive, normally you would want to go in, wouldn't you, and be by Joe's side. How often were you able to visit?
Well, I mean, that is genuinely tough. I think that's the hardest thing for the families. Yes. I mean, in not being able to be there, hold Joe's hand, reassure her through what is obviously a very difficult time. And I have to say, I think the nurses did a great job of arranging things like that Dr. Wimbush says, like the FaceTime and things like that. They really did do a marvellous job of keeping you in touch, as they do with the families are given a phone number that actually gets you right into the intensive care. And I have to say, whenever I spoke to them, it seemed a very calm place. I did actually manage to get into the hospital on one occasion where the guys obviously kitted me fully up in PPE. Which was wonderful. Joe was quite a long way down the line by then, and actually very much on the recovery trend, so we could actually talk. It's a bit difficult to hug when you're wearing a visor and full PPE, I can tell you.
Joe, what was the thing, when you got home, Joe, after all this, what was the one thing you really wanted to do?
I wanted to sit in this chair where I'm sat now and have a latte and look at the garden through the window. yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
Well, you know what? It's fantastic to see you both. I know Richard is thrilled, Richard Gatesford, your neighbour, is absolutely thrilled that you came through. And it's wonderful that you got to sit in your chair and have your latte. And the reason you did is because of Dr. Wimbush and his colleagues. And we thank you so much to everyone in that ICU unit for bringing Joe back and for all the work you're doing to bring other people back home. And we wish you all the very best in your continued battle with this virus.
Thank you very much. It's been a privilege to be a small part of a great effort.
Well, we feel privileged to have health workers like you. Thank you very much.
Not a small part, Dr. Wimbush.